Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to this week's weekly check-in. So, I'm not really sure where I left off on talking about my books and my reading last week. As far as I know, I think I was in the middle of the last book for The Demigods of San Francisco. Well, I'm happy to report that I have since finished the fourth book, I think, the fourth book, Sin and Spirit, which I think I finished that on Sunday. And I ended up giving it 4 stars again. It's great. It's a fun little read. I enjoyed. So the trilogy's split into like 2 halves. The first half deals with like one particular antagonist, and then the second half deals with a different antagonist. And the first antagonist was way more compelling for me than this one. I mean, I've only read about it for 1 book, but like, it's not quite as interesting for me as the first one was, but like, and the love story is like established, so like there's no buildup of tension or anything like that. I don't know, there might be more tension to come in the future that hasn't hit yet, but at the end of the first book in the second half of the trilogy, it didn't really hit. So I'm probably going to put off the last 2 books in the Demigods of San Francisco on hold for now. I am also still in the middle of Age of Ash. I did manage to get my hands on the audiobook this past week, so I have been listening to that. I think I'm something along the lines of like 60% of the way through. It was really, really great when I started it, and I am still very interested in the characters, but I'm 60% of the way through, and one character in particular, the main character, Elise, I think her name is, she's struggling a lot. The whole story kind of kicks off where this happens in the first couple of chapters, so this isn't a spoiler, but her brother does die, and so he's kind of involved in stuff that she doesn't necessarily understand, and she's trying to figure out what he was involved in, and it kind of has to do with the politics around the city that they live in, and the king or the prince who recently just died, and all of these big heavy-hitting political players. And so was embroiled in all of that, and she's kind of like trying to figure out what it is, but her method of grieving is kind of like literally stepping into his shoes. Like, she wants to do everything the exact way that he did it. She wants to do everything that he did. And if she does something not necessarily the way that she thinks he would have done it, she's like really upset about that. And we're 60% of the way in, and that really doesn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon. So, I don't know, we'll see. It's frustrating me a little bit. There's another character who's like her best friend as well. Her name is Samish, and best friend slash not love interest, but Samish is pining after Elise, and that character is like really worried for her and is worried about all of the stuff that she's getting herself into, and is kind of finding herself on the opposite side of the political spectrum, where she ends up going against her best friend for a lot of things. And then you're kind of following the POVs of the people who are moving things around in the background as far as like the royalty and the princes and all of that stuff goes in the city. So there's a lot going on technically, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. And like I said, I'm almost 70% of the way in. I think it's like 67% at this point. So I don't know, it's interesting. I will for sure keep listening to the audiobook this week at work. I really don't have too much more of it to go. I think maybe like 4 hours of listening time and I'm done with it. So, should be finishing that up this week, which is good because tomorrow is Monday, which means that it's February 28th, which means that the last few books that I have been reading for February, I really need to wrap up because I have got some readathons to deal with in March. The other book that I started on Monday that I didn't grab to bring with me is Age of Assassins. I'll pop a picture of it up over here. This was the last full-length book that I had on my February TBR, and this follows Gerton, who is a 15-year-old assassin's apprentice. And honestly, I am really, really loving it. It's kind of taking everything in me to not just dive in and read it. I've been trying to like tab this one up, so I'm trying to read it physically as much as I possibly can. But I'm loving it. The relationship between Gerton and his master are hilarious. Like, it's fantastic. The mentor relationship there is probably one of my favorite mentor relationships I've ever read in a fantasy, and I really, really love it. Like I said, the humor is great. The storyline is interesting. The story kicks off where they think that they're hired on a job to assassinate somebody. Literally in like the first chapter, they're trapped and instead hired by some of the people that they thought they were there to assassinate, and end up getting hired to try and figure out who might be there to assassinate some of the members of the royal family. That was the word assassinate way too many times in one sentence, but that's pretty much what it's about. And so Girton has to pose as like a young lord who is there to be a squire, and his master is there posing as a court jester, and shenanigans are ensuing. It's really entertaining. Like I said, it's taking everything in me to like not read it in every format possible. I'm trying to stick to reading it physically. I might have to give up on that. We'll see, because my new physical read is this glorious book. I haven't had as much of a chance as I wanted to. I got this on Thursday. I am in the middle of trying to do a reading vlog for it, so you guys won't really see too much of me talking about it in this, but I am in the middle of it. I am currently almost 400 pages through, and I'm loving it so far, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So that's everything that I am currently in the middle of reading. In terms of my readathons that I would like to do this month, I am doing the magical readathon, which is what I talked about, I think, in my TBR that I posted last week, if you guys have seen that. I am also doing the GOT-a-thon, which is the Game of Tomes-a-thon. If you have not seen anything about that, I will link it down below, but I forgot to mention that in my March TBR, and that is something that I am very interested in doing. Also, I am House Stark, so I will be participating in all of the House Stark prompts, of which I have 5. The first one is the group prompt, which is to continue on with a series, which is the prompt that I get for having done the first part of the GOT-a-thon at the end of last year. I don't remember exactly what month it was, but I did participate in it, so I will be continuing with a series. That's the first prompt. The second prompt is to read a book with an animal, whether it's in the story or on the cover or whatever. Next is to read a book with a gray or silver cover, then read a book featuring a quest or travel of some kind, and then the last one is to read a book where someone is in training. I don't really know if I can carry books into this that I've already started. For the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to say that that's what I'm going to do, because Age of Assassins, I am only like 20% of the way in, maybe. I'm really not that far at all. So that would count for somebody being in training, because he's literally an assassin's apprentice. I'm probably too far into House of Sky and Breath for me to be able to use that for a book featuring an animal, even though it does, so I'm probably going to let that go. So I am going to have to figure out what books that I have set aside for my March TBR are going to fit into these prompts. I haven't really picked it yet, and like I said, this starts on Tuesday, so we're going to have to figure that out as well. And then the final thing, if you guys saw my video that I posted on Friday, Tuesday is the start of mine and Z and Lauren's Belgariad-along, so we will be reading this all month of March, starting on Tuesday and doing a live show the first weekend of April. I'm holding it up. This is the bind-up of the first 3 books in the Belgariad series, so I actually only have to read to there. I only have to read this much of it. So it's like 192 pages in this, so it's really not going to be that bad. As far as I can remember, it's a very quick read, so I'm pretty excited for it. I'm excited to dive into this world that I really, really loved when I was a very young teenager / pre-teen kind of age. I was pretty young when I got into the entire Belgariad world. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to finally get back into this and see if it still holds up for how I remember it to be. Like, I really loved it then, and I hope that I still enjoy it now, and I still enjoy the characters in the world and all of that stuff. Other than that, I really haven't been up to very much this last week. I have been doing a lot of reading, even though I didn't finish anything, so it doesn't really sound like I've been doing a lot of reading, but I am in the middle of 3 large fantasy books all at the same time. I mean, it's taking me a minute, and I'm trying to separate each of them and all of that stuff. So I got a lot of reading done on Friday, but like I had just gotten House of Sky and Breath, and this is one of my most anticipated reads of the year. So like I spent a large chunk of Friday night just reading as much as I could of this, and I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. So hopefully I get to do that soon and finish it out, because I've only got like 400 pages or so left. So I'll be posting a reading vlog on that. I don't really know how in-depth the actual vlog itself is going to be, but I'll probably end the reading vlog with all of my spoilery and non-spoilery thoughts. I haven't really decided how I'm going to do that yet. We shall see. But yeah, that's it for all of the stuff that I've been reading. In terms of what I've been watching, I really haven't been doing much. Like I said, I've been listening to audiobooks while I've been working all week, and anytime that I haven't been, I've kind of been watching the Vox Machina campaign on Critical Role's YouTube channel. Like, I've been really into Vox Machina of all things, and I've been really in a D&D mood lately. In case you couldn't tell, I am wearing my druid shirt that Z got me. Thanks, Z. And yeah, I've just been in a D&D mood lately. We ended up playing D&D all of this morning, so it was a lot of fun. And now I have to go back to the real world and go back to work tomorrow and deal with all of that. I don't know how much I'm going to get done next weekend, though, because my parents are coming to visit, so we'll see if I even get to film anything. I didn't actually think about that. Anyway, that's it for this wrap up, guys. So I will link any of the books that I talked about in the description down below. While you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Also in my description box, you're going to find rep codes to both Hello Lovely Box and Unplugged Book Box, and underneath that are links to my Goodreads, my Twitter, and my Instagram in case you wanted to follow me on any of those. So that's it for me today, guys, and I'll talk to you in my next one. Bye!